Hi guys, today is going to be the start of our social studies lessons. And in this unit, we're going to be talking about where in the world is our community. And this unit's really cool and kind of unique because we take a look at where we live from as far away as possible, zooming all the way back into where we currently are now in Waverly and Eagle and Lincoln and in the surrounding areas. As we go through the slides, we will talk about different activities, and what I want you to make sure you do is you stop and you do the activity as I ask you to do it. Of course, some of the things are going to be changed and direction will be changed a little bit just from working at home rather than working in the classroom with some other students. So the very first thing I want you to do is if you look in your TAN packet, you're going to see a page that looks similar to the one you see here. And it just says preview at top. It's going to be the very first piece. And the directions say a friend or family member is coming to your school. Can you tell the person how to find your classroom? Now, one adjustment I want to make there, especially since some of you have never probably been into your new school, is instead of having a friend or family member coming to your classroom, I want you to imagine they're going to maybe your bedroom in your house, and they're coming through the front door of your house. So write down how to get from your school's main entrance to your classroom. I want you to change that in your own brain to how would they get from your front entrance of your house to your bedroom. So for some of you, it could be really easy. Some of you, it couldn't. One of the things to be thinking about is when you're telling someone how to get from the front entrance to your house to your bedroom, is be thinking about which directions would they need to turn? Would they need to turn right? Would they need to turn left? What are some things they're going to be looking for in order to know when to turn? Are they going to go upstairs? Are they going to go downstairs? This is for your own benefit. You're not going to share this page with anyone. And when you guys turn in these packets at the end of 2 weeks, you're welcome to keep this page as well, but it's really good practice to start to use our directions and how to get from one place to another. One place and another. Then down below, you're going to draw a picture that shows the route as well. So think about, okay, I'm entering my room or entering my house, and there's a hallway. This is my living room. You're going to pass the kitchen, and you're going to draw it out as well. What we're going to end up creating here is a map of where you live. Like I said, this is not something you're going to have to turn in, but really good practice for writing. We will have you turn in most of this packet, but this front page is just for our own benefit for knowing directions and how to tell someone to get from one place to another. So it just tells you write down the directions, include routes, include labels in your picture as well is great. So what you guys, like I said, what you're going to be creating is a map, and you're going to be thinking about, did you put labels on there? Can you tell me what things are on your map? Now what I want us to do is to be, like I said, we're going to be zooming all the way out, and we're going to be thinking about astronauts. Along the side here, you're going to see some focus questions and then a picture to go with it. So the first piece is astronauts need to know how to find places too. So astronauts start out down on Earth, and they're going to go all the way up into space so that they can see our universe from a different perspective. They're seeing it from way above. So I want you to take a moment just to look and see look at this picture and start to identify some different things you see. I'll point some things out in a moment. I want you to pause your this video, and I want you to take a few moments to look at different things in this picture and see what you can identify. Try and find 5 to 10 different things that you see in this picture. As we keep on, what does this astronaut need to know or some of the things we might see? I know, and we'll talk more about it. You might have seen this NASA symbol here. We see an astronaut. We see stars and possibly planets in the background. We see Earth. Some of you might have been able to identify what this piece of land is on Earth. We see ocean. We see the spacecraft here. We see the United States flag on there. We'll talk about some more of these things as we go through, but just to kind of stop and think, what does this astronaut need to know to be able to pilot the shuttle back to the landing site on Earth? So They actually take their space shuttles and they bring them back down to Earth. So that's what we're going to be thinking about is what does this astronaut need to know in order to do that? So a few questions. Can you find the NASA lettering? Point to it. Right here. Good. We see it again on the spaceman's suit. NASA is in charge of sending people into space. These are going to be some of the terms that we're going to be learning as well. And I'm very briefly going to touch these right now and go over them. And then we are going to hit these a lot harder throughout the next few days and next 2 weeks. All of these are words that I expect you to know what they mean by the end of this. The first one, and we'll talk about it now, and it really doesn't come up too much, but it's what we're doing, and it's that word geography. Geography is going to be the study of Earth and the things that are living in it. So geography is that study of Earth, and that's exactly what we're going to be doing right now, is studying our Earth and how can we identify different pieces on there. So geography, the study of Earth. We will not see that term too many more times in this unit, but I want you to know what it is. The next word is the word equator, and we're going to learn more about the equator very shortly. But the equator is going to be an imaginary line that runs horizontally across our Earth, but it's not a real line. It's not something you're actually going to be able to see. The next one is continent. The continent is going to be the largest chunks of land. So our Earth's broken up into continents, and the continents are each of those really large chunks. Next up, we have state. You can think of Nebraska as an example of a state. The United States is made up of 50 different states. And sorry, I should have been going this way as I went across. That's okay. We have towns are going to be like we live in Waverly, Eagle, Lincoln, those surrounding areas. Towns are going to be smaller communities. Sometimes we call them towns. If it's going to be larger and it's going to have the bigger buildings and people are traveling there to work, that's going to be more of a city. So important to keep those in mind. Our next word that we're going to come across is sphere. And a sphere is so important because the sphere is going to be that round shape. And not just like a circle, a sphere is going to be a 3D object such as a ball. So if you think of a basketball, it's an example of a sphere. The reason it's so important is because our Earth is the shape of a sphere. When we are going through a lot of these units, we're constantly looking at maps, and maps are going to be a flattened out version of our Earth, but it's important to know that our Earth is a sphere. The prime meridian is going to be very similar to that equator where it's an imaginary line, but this one is going to run vertically through our Earth. So you can't actually see it, but it's a line that helps us kind of identify where things are. Next up is the word country. So in order of land size, we have continents. Within continents, we have different countries. So we live in the country of the United States. Towns and cities are made up of communities. They are part of a community. And then we have hemisphere. Hemisphere actually just means half of a sphere. So a sphere is going to be that ball shape. A hemisphere is going to be half of it. And that's where the equator and the prime meridian come into play. And we're going to talk about them tomorrow. They're all part of our lesson, the equator, prime meridian, and the hemisphere tomorrow, where we're going to talk about how our world is broken up into hemispheres divided by that equator and the prime meridian. Next up, we have ocean. Those are going to be the really big bodies of water that we see. Borders are something that are super confusing. We have a lot of imaginary terms here. So borders are something you cannot see, just like the equator and the prime meridian. You cannot see them, but they separate one place from another. So there are borders of the states, there are borders of the countries, there are borders of the continents. You cannot see them unless you're looking on a map. It's not like when I get to a border, I'm going to hop over a wall. But this border helps us distinguish where one place ends and another place begins. But it's imaginary. You cannot see it. And then we already went over city when we went over town as well. So we are going to stop there today. Like I said, today is just really brief touch on, what is the word I'm looking for? Geography. 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 Geography touch on a little bit of the vocabulary and start to identify what a map looks like. And tomorrow we'll pick it up learning more about, like I said, that equator, prime meridian, and the hemispheres.